Good afternoon. Jernine Russell back with another episode of Purpose Driven Life. I am so glad to see you. So glad you're back to join me. And I have got a new guest, like I always do. This guest, oh my gosh, we go way back. I was trying to work it out. And then I started, when it got past 20 years, I said, you know what, let's just leave it. Let's not go there. But the reason I am here is because I had a tap on my shoulder a few years ago, and I was asked to speak about purpose, help people who may be struggling with their purpose, help people to understand what purpose is, and just to have a better understanding of walking in your purpose. So that is why I'm here. I am loving the journey, loving the growth of the studio, the guests that we're having, and I'm looking forward to the conversation that I'm going to have. So I will let him introduce himself.
Oh, wow. Introduce myself. How long you got? I'm going to keep it to the short version. I describe myself as a sports consultant. I've been working in the sports industry for about 20 years. I am the founder of BCOMS, the Black Collective of Media in Sport. And I am the co-founder of the Football Blacklist. And I operate from a business which I founded called Refresh Sports, which is a production company, which is a consultancy, and generally does lots of good things, I hope, in sport, anchored in, equality, diversity, inclusion, but also creativity, and finding ways to do things better.
Love that. Things that I love and that are very close to my heart. And you didn't even tell us your name.
Oh, geez. No, sorry.
That's okay.
Leon Mann. Yeah, that's my name. I was going to say, is there anything else to add to that? No, not really.
And we were just having a little chat. So Leon and I went to college together.
Yes.
Back in the day, sixth form, City in Islington, sixth form.
Yeah.
I was trying to work out whether we were in the same year or whether you were the year above me, or we definitely crossed paths anyway in the A-level section.
Paths. It was 97, 98.
Yes.
So
sounds about right.
Yep, sounds about right. Yep. Then I took a year out before going to university, which formative years for sure.
Yes.
A lot changed in my life because I spent some time in Kenya. When I left City in Islington, I went to Kenya for 4 or 5 months, and and when I say Kenya, I'm not talking about Nairobi in the city. I went to a place called the Great Rift Valley, where most of the amazing long-distance runners come from, and was teaching in a school in a place called Kapenguria. It's like a tiny village in the hills. And when I got there, my lungs were I just couldn't deal with it. 19 years old, fit as a fiddle, and I need to sleep for like a good week just to get myself acclimatized because of the altitude. You're so high up, and you see families going for runs, and it's nuts. You can just see how that environment helps you massively in terms of your physical being.
What prompted you going to Kenya?
Sit in Islington Library. I don't know what, I didn't even spend a lot of time in the library in City in Islington. But for some reason, I was looking through some books in the library and then found one that had a scheme called Africa Venture. And I was like, oh, this looks dope. Look at this. This looks crazy. You can go and do this, this, and this. Then I looked at how much it was going to cost, and I thought, wow, how am I going to be able to do that? I was very fortunate when I spoke to my parents, worked out a bit of a deal with them where I was going to pay half of it, and they were going to support me with the other half because they thought it was a good thing for me to do. I'd say that was a big moment in my life, just because, I've gone from, such a small world of North London. Even going to South London was like, wow, South London, man, wow, what's going on down here? Everything's on sandstone. We're on clay in the north. But went from such a small world to seeing such a different part of the world, thinking I knew a lot about the world and realizing I knew so little. And by having that experience in a part of Africa where, if I'm completely honest, like at school, college, lots of West African communities had a good understanding of Ghana to some extent, a good understanding certainly of Nigeria. But Kenya, I didn't meet any Kenyans.
No, I don't think I
at
did.
school in North London, at college in North London. So for me, it was just like, wow. And what a beautiful place. It touched me physically in terms of that experience of like being at altitude, seeing people like, I remember one of the first things I did when I got there was like, where's the butcher? And like the butcher is literally, it's a village, right?
Yeah.
And of course they have sophisticated butchers and stuff in Nairobi and the main cities, but it's literally a shack with like a cow out the back. And I'm like, where's the meat? It's like, well, what do you want? And it's like, well, I don't know, some beef. And it's like, well, we can get you that for you. You might have to wait because they were going to have to go and kill a cow to go and get the beef for me. But then I found out that the culture was people don't really eat meat on a day-to-day. And I was used to eating meat most days, and they'd eat meat once a week. And they'd eat like that much meat. And they'd really value it in a different way to what we were valuing meat here and how we would consume meat. So just things like that were just massive eye-openers to me. And then having to essentially fend for yourself in a country you don't know at 19. When I think of it now, it terrifies me to think of either of my daughters being in that situation. And even if I had a son, it would be the same situation. But I was just, it was all good. I was just traveling around and living, experiencing, and I came back from that trip completely different person. And I remember going into Nike Town. Was it Nike Town? No, maybe it wasn't Nike Town, like JD or something like that. And I remember going into the shop and looking at the trainers, and I was stood there for a good 20 minutes, and someone come over to me and said, "Sir, you okay?" I was like, yeah, just looking at the trainers. He goes, "Yeah, but you've been stood in front of the women's section for 20 minutes. I came into the shop and I genuinely thought there were so many trainers there, because my experience of being in Kenya was like, there's 5 trainers like up on the wall and that's it. And then I'm looking at this like 50, 60, 70 trainers thinking this is it. So the difference was crazy. And I remember going to Oxford Circus and walking up and down and just feeling just so strange because of the reality that I've been living. So it took me some time to kind of bed back into society here. But a beautiful, enriching experience that really, helped to shape me as a young man.
That's amazing. I think we had another guest a few months ago who was speaking about his travels and how it kind of, made him, and like I think just spending time with yourself really can do that. And I think in terms of my journey of purpose, it's definitely those moments of stillness and sometimes being, removing yourself from the normal day-to-day things just gives you like just a different outlook. And
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. And, that different perspective, that different sense of being, that different sense of identity, because we have day-to-day identities. So, husband, dad, leader of business or whatever it is. And actually you go to a different environment, you're just some guy.
Yeah. I like that.
And that can be nice.
I think people, this society get so caught up in titles.
Yeah.
I spoke about it a lot on my last episode, and I'm just like, I'm Jernine. That's who I was born as, and that's who I'm going to die as. And we place so much emphasis, and people want to give respect to, or, he's got money, so I'm going to speak to him like this, or this person is a cleaner, so I'm going to talk to them like this. So, and I think we're people at the end of the day. And I don't know, just give each other that level of respect just through our beings, you as Leon and me as Jernine, not the things that you do or, the titles that make you who you are.
Yeah, big time. It's that validation, isn't it? And I think it says more about the people searching for that validation. And where does that validation end?
Yeah.
because it might be, well, that person's something, so if they see me and they see value in me, then I must have value. I think it's the question that you're having to ask yourself. They must think I have value. Well, you don't have a sense of value yourself. And I know that society can make us feel like that, does make us feel like that, in terms of wanting to search for that validation, wanting to search for people to say you are something. And it's an endless pursuit, I believe.
Especially in this time and this day of it. I just like, I just think of social media and like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly.
The people who are famous for doing absolutely...
it is a strange world, and I worry about the next generation particularly because they're being brought up on this. When we were at college, there was no Instagram. No. There was no Twitter.
I never had a phone.
Yeah, no, I think I got a phone in fact, I got a pager when I came back from Kenya.
I had a pager in college.
Yeah, a pager, which I don't know what
What was the point of that? Because you still have to go and find a phone to communicate.
I know it was.
But I felt good having it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that some people made some money at that time out of them pages. And doctors must have been just scratching their head while all the pages were sold out, because doctors genuinely actually needed pages to know that they needed to be in certain places. But
or the restaurant that tells you when it's time for you to eat. That's the only other sensible reason to have a pager.
Yeah. But back in the day, it felt quite cool. But again, I think as a young person, you're looking for that validation. You're looking to be seen in the world, right?
Yes.
And I think that's where social media can be really dangerous. And we have to work with our children, and we have to be present ourselves, because I sometimes get dragged into looking at my social media so much it evokes emotion, and then suddenly I'm being short-tempered with my kids. Like, that's wrong.
Yeah,
that's
it's good that you can recognise it, though.
Wrong. Yeah. And having the phone at the dinner table and, I just need to look at this. I just need to do this. Do I really? Sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a culture change that's needed. And I think we're still feeling it out, right? This is all still relatively new.
This is so new to me.
It's so new. It's so new. And I think we'll look back at our behaviours in like 10, 20 years' time and go, wow, I'm so glad I made that change, or I'm so glad that there was a policy brought in by government to make sure that you couldn't spend more than X amount of time on social media. Obviously people would argue against that, understandably. But I think there's going to have to be some big changes, because we're already in a mental health crisis as a society, and it's only going to get worse.
I agree. We are getting into it without even starting the questions, but it's always good to get some, like, you just gave me some background. Like, I never knew that you'd been to Kenya, and I just think those experiences, I remember, like, when we were younger, what was it called? My sister went Camp America, and I felt like there was more encouragement for young people to go off and explore and do different things. Yes. I don't know if that's still the case, if Camp America still exists. Yeah. But there were lots of different schemes like that where you could go and, volunteer and do different things. And I just think those things, from me, just there's a level of like personal development that you don't get just going straight to work.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think back then, in terms of when we were at college, probably the world felt like it was a safer space, and I don't know if it was or wasn't, because now we have so much information that it kind of pulls the curtain back on lots of things that may have been going on back in the day, but you just weren't aware of it, right? You were reliant on mainstream media to find out and then share that news. But now, if something untoward is going on, it's very easy to capture on social media or share the information on social media. So we're like hyper aware of things that are happening in the world, which I believe is a good thing, but also can be, something that prevents parents from encouraging their kids to go away at 19 to experience things around the world. Prevents the young people themselves from thinking, boy, I don't really want to be caught out in a situation, and I'm actually quite comfortable sat in my house on my phone or my iPad or whatever. Like for me, I was out playing football all the time.
Yep.
all the time. If I
sound like
wasn't
my
playing
husband.
football, wow, like what was I doing if I wasn't playing football? I couldn't even tell you.
I was reading on
Mhm.
my roller skates.
Yep.
My brother was more sporty than I was, so
Yep.
I was just like on the basketball court, like watching them play basketball. I'd get involved sometimes. Like we were just out. I was saying to my kids, we never needed money. Like I can just remember like the 6 weeks holidays when I did stay here, because a lot of the time I went to my grandparents in Florida. But when we were here, we just had our key. My mum did not give us a budget, like money every day.
Yes.
We'd
yeah.
eat before we left the house. We'd be out for the whole day. I don't know. We didn't go. There weren't chicken shops. Well, not that I was. Maybe I
That's
weren't
one at the bottom
allowed
of my
to
road,
go.
So yeah, but yeah.
I definitely didn't eat chicken and chips from the street. And then we'd go home and have dinner. Like I can't remember. My daughter wants to go out to these like brunch places, and this one is it's aesthetic, so I'm gonna go there. And 30 quid later, you know, and you're not working, so it's me that's taking you to brunch with your friends.
Right,
Do you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, let's not. I sound like such an old.
Listen, I was thinking that. Like, I was thinking, wow. I remember listening to these conversations with my parents and their friends.
Yes.
So maybe it's part of the natural evolution.
Oh my God!
That we're going
I'm turning
through.
into my mum.
And I'm still not convinced my parents' generation was right, but I'm convinced my generation is right. And I'm sure my daughter and my daughters are going to look back and, you know, maybe say things were better then. I don't know, but that makes me concerned about what's coming.
Yeah, but I guess this is kind of why I do what I do, because I am really keen on people living a purpose-driven life, a life where there's meaning and value, and I just think it's important to have intrinsic satisfaction and not just material money. I know we need those things, but when you get up in the morning and you've got this drive and this thing to like do what you're doing, do you know what I mean? I think I've spent years, not a lot of my years, but sometimes like you get up and you don't want to do something, or you're working somewhere that you really don't enjoy doing it. I think so yeah, this is why I do what I do. But getting on to the questions, what does purpose mean to you?
I'm going to be honest, I Googled this before I came here because I knew I was going to be asked this question. So I'm going to try not to give that answer because that would be boring and that's not the purpose. It's the why, isn't it? It's really getting to the root of the why. And whether that's, you know, if you believe in divine intervention in terms of this is why you were put on the earth, or whether it's something that's a little bit more scientific, if you like, in terms of, you know, I've studied all my life to be a doctor, and now I think my purpose is to try and find a cure for cancer, you know, and that's involved a journey in education, and then you've got to a place where you feel it's, you know, I think both things can be the same, if not communicated in different ways. But, you know, a purpose is kind of a journey of starting in one place with the objective of getting to somewhere else that I believe is a better place. Yeah. And it might be for someone that's like, look, you know, I need to make my money, so my purpose is to make a load of money, so I've got generational wealth, X, Y, Z. And I don't want to get into judging that because that's someone else's purpose. It's not my purpose. I do believe money can help with purpose, absolutely, and I've been very fortunate in my life to have had support and guidance, etc., that has given me space to be able to choose, or maybe the purpose chooses me, and I guess we can talk about that, but get to a place where you can find your purpose. I think if you're caught up in bills, keep people there, keep people warm, keep people fed, then actually, is that your purpose? Is that your purpose, to just keep your kids fed? And I say just like it's a small thing. It's the most fundamental thing and very difficult for people. Someone struggling with mental health issues, getting out of bed is hard enough. That's the win. And we should celebrate them for having that win, right? But then there are other kinds of purpose. And I don't like to put them on a hierarchy, but where you might want to change the way society is, which is a huge statement to make about any part of society. But it could be, I want society to stop using social media as much as it's using, because it's burning brains of young people and distracting them from being present in the real world, whatever the real world is. I want people to eat more healthily, because I can see that heavily processed foods are leading to people getting more illness, and that is causing our society great grief. So, for me, purpose is about a journey from somewhere to a different place, and having a positive outcome ultimately.
And leading on, what is your purpose?
Yeah, my purpose, and I couldn't Google this one, but my purpose, I think, has evolved, and I think purpose does evolve.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it kind of is a static thing. For a long time as a young person, I may have felt my purpose was to become a sports person who revolutionized a sport. Like, genuinely in my head, I felt like, yes, I'm definitely going to be a footballer one day. There was no evidence to suggest that I should become a footballer, but I kind of felt it was like, one day I'm going to be a professional sports person. I know it. I'm going to do something in this space. This is my purpose. This is why I'm here. This is the thing that I value most. And this is what I'm dedicated to. And then it becomes blind faith in terms of, it will definitely happen for sure, because I believe it's going to happen. And then on the journey, for me, I found myself in a position where I had left university and actually had a minor stroke. So half of my face was paralyzed, down my arm was kind of really stiff. And I just remember going to the doctor and them saying, I'm glad you've come in, because if you hadn't come in now, this thing moves quite quickly. So they gave me medication and said, look, you should return to normal. And I was like, should? What do you mean should? Like, half my face was drooping down. And they said, well, look, if you take these things, you need to be really healthy, you need to rest properly, then you will return to what you were. Like, you should make a full recovery. And I was like, well, and he goes, well, 70% of people do make a full recovery. I was like, 70? So what if I'm in the 30% kind of thing? Anyway, I followed those instructions. I took the medication. I drank nothing but water and vegetables and just kept myself clean. And I did make, a full recovery. But the biggest change I had in my life at that point was, wow, things can change tomorrow. Like, things can change like that.
So true.
So that thing I was thinking about doing tomorrow,
let me do it.
Let me do it because I don't know what changes tomorrow. Things can change really quickly. So my whole mindset changed.
Wow.
And at that point, I didn't know what my purpose was, and I volunteered for a campaign called Kick It Out, Kick Racism Out of Football. And I remember going in to meet the director at the time, and walked into this office, and his desk is in the corner over there, and he was sat at his desk. He got the big table, and he said, yeah, go and take a seat. So I took my seat, and I wheeled it up to his computer and sat down next to him. And he looked at me like,
what is he doing?
What's he doing? But I didn't even realize I was so focused on trying to make a positive impression that for me, of course I was going to go and sit there because he sat there, and it's kind of like we wanted to I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to tell you what I can help with here. And when I think back, and I got the role as a volunteer. Within 3 months, I was very lucky. Right place, right time. Job came up what I had no right to get. And I applied for it and got it on much lower money because they said the other candidates weren't what they were looking for, so they would take a bit of a punt on me. And that was the beginning of my journey. Wow. And I was in the sports industry, something I thought I'd have no chance of ever working in. And I was working on something, again, with purpose, challenging racism, pushing for greater equality in the game. so it was almost like a dream job. I bounced out of bed every morning. I was like literally like, right, getting to work. I was like waiting for the shutters to open outside. And this is someone who's like in their 20, 21, kind of like early 20s. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And from that moment, I kind of felt like, without saying it was my purpose, it certainly was my place. It certainly was my I'd found my sweet spot. I wanted to be working in sport, and I wasn't just working as in like, let's sell more tickets to go to a game, let's develop players to be better, which are all like tremendous things to do and to be involved in sport. But actually, I was there to try and address some kind of deep-rooted issues that I'd discovered and didn't really know much about before I went into that place. So we have, now 43% of footballers in the Premier League are black. But yet there's, how many black managers? 2 black managers?
Yeah, it's still that disparity.
If you look in the boardroom, we've got 1 black person across all 20 Premier League clubs in the boardroom. One of my friends who is he didn't go to sit in Islington, but he went to another sixth form in North London. So a friend of mine, he's at Brentford, Deji Davis, in the boardroom there, but he's the only black person, non-executive director, only black person across all 20 Premier League clubs. So if you look at disparities like that, those things I felt, well, hang on, we're good enough to run around and make people money, make clubs money, make big businesses money. But why aren't we put in charge of things as black people? So actually, those kind of questions in my mind became really pressing. The lack of South Asian players, South Asian communities make up the largest ethnic minority communities in this country. But if you look at the football industry, like, you can count the number of professional South Asian players from the UK maybe on 2 hands. And that's been the case for like the 20 years that I've been working in football. So those things, those issues have been drivers for me in terms of like, I want to play a role in changing those things. And as I've gone through my career, so I worked as a journalist at the BBC and a filmmaker at the BBC for some time, and now have a production company, so I make films myself now. Why is there such an underrepresentation of black people in the sports media? There certainly was. I was the England reporter for ITV, and believe I was like, the first, non-former professional footballer who's black to fulfill that role. If you look at the people who are making the big decisions across the sports media, very, very few black people, if any, when I started, and now a few more. So I started something called BCOMS, Black Collective Media in Sport. That was to drive more, or to create a pathway for people from black and Asian backgrounds, from women who are underrepresented, white working class people who are underrepresented, for them to be able to join the sports media. And that's been running now for 15 years. And it's in good hands with the people driving it now. The Football Blacklist, a celebration of black people working within football, not just the footballers, but the people working community level who are literally changing lives of young people who will never be professional footballers, but they're using football to help them find a positive place, be that keeping out of trouble or be that becoming the next doctor of a football club. They're doing that work at community level for very little money often.
Yes.
Or if anything at all, like unseen a lot of the time. So set up the Football Blacklist to shine a light on people, to also make them more visible to the next generation of young black people. Like, please put everything into becoming a professional footballer if that's what you want to do. Put everything into that. But know that if that doesn't work out, you could become a doctor at a football club. You could become a psychologist at a football club. You could be a camera person who earns good. People don't know how much money these camera people earn,
Look, these are listening loudly now.
when people come to me, I want to be a presenter. I'm like, okay, listen, cool. You want to be a presenter? That's great. We want you to be a presenter. But let me tell you how much I'm paying the camera people now, right? Because those guys are traveling around the world. Guys and girls are traveling around the world, going to incredible places, doing incredible things, and they're capturing their art. That's a fantastic career that I think a lot of people don't consider. The people who do the editing, the producers, the directors, the writers, there's so many more things than sitting in the hot seat being the presenter.
Yes.
That actually you need to feel these things out. But if you don't see it, you don't know about it. A lot of the young people turn up to me and go, never heard of that role, never heard of this, never heard of that. And it's like, okay, well, cool. Let me introduce you to some great people who come from similar backgrounds to you, who've been doing amazing things in this space, because I believe that this could put you on a journey and give you maybe a purpose that's really going to enhance and enrich your life. And it's been great over the 15 years. We've had some superstars who've come from the program, and we've had like loads and loads of people just find positivity in the industry and find places in the industry. So for me, I guess that has been my purpose, and that's how it's shown up.
So, and the thing is, you were saying about purpose being, it could be to change society, or actually literally changing society.
Yeah. Well,
you're a change maker. And I say this to people because change could be a little seed that then grows into this plant. And along that way, you're making change. You might help somebody to even just to be in that environment that they've never been in before. Do you know what I mean? I just think change sounds huge, but it can be a tiny, minute thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the part I feel uncomfortable about is everything I've done that's been good has been a collaboration. It's involved different people. I've played a role, and maybe that role has been seen by the outside world as being the more important part, be it getting some funding and standing on a stage and talking. Whereas actually someone's got to go and deliver that work. Someone's got to look after the young person who's having a tough time and needs someone to speak to. Someone's got to go and convince their boss within their business that it's worth funding this piece of work. So, you know, I've ended up in this space where I'll kind of be a spokesperson and I'll stand at the front. But I'm only able to do that because people have lifted me up and given me the opportunity to do that. So when people are saying thank you to me, it's really important for me to like make sure I'm saying thank you back to them. Because, you know, if I could chop up the awards that I've had and give a piece to everyone, then I'll do that tomorrow. Because you achieve very little alone. You do have to be brave. You do have to be accountable if you're at the front. If you're the leader, and if it all goes wrong, trust me, you're the person that comes to me as well. And I accept that. But I've been very fortunate that because I've made good decisions, I believe, and also made some bad decisions, but mainly made good decisions in terms of the collaborations that people have worked with. We've been able to achieve some things together. And that I'm very proud of. But it doesn't stop, you know, kind of, I'm feeling particularly tired at the moment this week. I don't know if it's because it's coming towards the end of the football season. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling particularly tired right now. And still I have to push through because there's stuff I need to get done. If it doesn't get done, then actually we don't get to where we need to get to, and things stall or things go backwards, and I can't allow that to happen. But it's about collaboration. Yeah, it's about collaboration. We have to continue working together, and it might be someone's skill set is not standing on a stage and talking to people. It might not be that person's skill set is sitting in a boardroom talking to an executive, but their skill set makes everything tick. So, you know, how do we give recognition? How do we ensure that value is afforded to that, and it's not lost, and it's not buried underneath the stuff that people see on the top, which can be shiny and nice, and they actually forget that the foundations of it sit with people who sit in rooms who are unseen.
That's amazing, and it's really, really says something about you that you recognise that, and that you giving them a shout as well, because I think I think collaboration is key. I think it's something that I keep speaking about, especially within the Black community, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. Some of it is really similar. Some of it is like, if you was to collaborate with that other organisation, you could collectively make a bigger impact. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, going back to some of the kind of history and trauma, that I just think let's start to think about working collaboratively.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I can see why people are resistant to it though. And I can understand it from experience as well, just in the sense that, you know, people want to go at different paces and they want to do things their own way.
Yeah.
And collaboration means sacrifice to some extent, in terms of it's not going to be all your own way, because that's not the best way. The best way is by sharing the ideas. But I know if I need to get something done by the end of next week, I can't wait for the person who wants to discuss it next week Friday.
That's true.
So I have to get moving. But I do feel as we all become more established in what we're doing, and we become more confident in what we're doing, and we begin to see each other more, then I think we get to a better place collectively, where we can all sit at the table feeling strong and confident, as opposed to nervous and curious, but also slightly scared. Then I think when we're in the stronger place, things begin to happen. And I think already those things are beginning to take place. If you look at the collaborations that Stormzy's kind of had within his space.
That this week. I was just like, wow.
Absolutely incredible what he's doing. Anthony Joshua called a dinner the other night, and brought together lots of kind of influencers, creatives. I was fortunate enough to be in the room for that myself. I'm on the board of an organisation called Black Equity Organisation, BEO, which has been set up, which features lots of prominent black people within the community. You know, I do think that, you know, ultimately we can all find ourselves in positions of strength and power and influence. And then there's got to be some glue that kind of ties us all together for the right reasons, because everyone has their strength. And if we can lock that in, then we can genuinely do some really incredible things for our people in our community.
It sounded like when you was talking about collaboration and you described it initially, it sounded like you was talking about marriage.
Ooh,
That's what it made me think of. No, I'm like, because it was like, compromise, and there's different strengths and different skill sets.
I mean, for me, it's raising a child together.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, you know,
two people from two different worlds, two
different dynamics, parents, family, etc. What you're going to feed your child, who needs a rest. Yes. I'm tired. I just got back from work. I've been looking after the kid all day. You need to get. Do you know what I mean? It's that sense of understanding each other, and the sense of feeling completely tired and on your knees, and going, do you know what? You need the rest more than me, so it's fine. I'm just going to push on right now. That's collaboration. Yeah. That's collaboration.
So, your purpose as a change maker in so many different remits, and just, I think it's just, my main things that I'm getting is it's from a sports, that's like your passion, I guess.
Yeah, sports is definitely my passion. And
then I guess I get the sense of like diversity inclusion is really something really important to you. Yeah. Because I always think of purpose. There's a little diagram. I'll have to put it up on my Instagram, and it talks about passion, and things that you're good at, and then in the middle becomes the purpose.
Oh wow! Okay.
And there's lots of you know, if you Googled purpose, that is like, there's no person who's described purpose the same in all the 3 years that I've been doing this.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
And even Google, I think I haven't got on there to find it out, because I feel like it's quite personal as well.
It is, absolutely.
But it's really interesting to see how you can evoke change through all the different things that you like, or that you're passionate about, or that you're interested in. Yeah. And the things that you're good at as well, leadership, and you know.
I think it makes logical sense, doesn't it? Right? Because you know, when you enjoy doing something, rightly or wrongly, you're willing to work throughout the hours that there are afforded to get that thing done because you really enjoy it, right? When you're not enjoying it, you're watching that clock to go, do you know what? I've got 12 minutes left on that, and I'm going to do 11 minutes and 58 seconds because I just need to be out the door. If you're really enjoying what you're doing, and it can be really hard, you're not even checking the
That's
clock.
so true.
You are so focused on making sure that whatever you need to get done gets did. So I genuinely believe that, you know, purpose can lead you to a place of genuine happiness, because, you know, I've done lots of jobs in my life, and I've tried to put them all around sports. I was like working as a security guard in sport at one point as a young person. I wasn't very good at it, but I was working around it. It was the cricket, and I used to look after a particular area of the ground, and I loved being there because it was cricket, right?
Yeah.
But the actual job itself, the actual purpose in terms of, like, I need to check everyone's passes and make sure that only the people with the right credentials. Oh, geez, no, thank you. Not for me, not my skill set, not my thing. There'll be someone else who'll be watching this who'll go, no, that's that for me. Yes, holding the law, making sure people behave properly, and like, you know, that'll be part of their purpose. But, you know, it wasn't my purpose.
Yeah, definitely not mine either.
Yeah, and look, you know, I've ended up, ultimately, a lot of my work is bringing people together, like events, conferences, online forums, you know, dinners, whatever it might be. Bring people together, collaboration, listen, learn, feel people's energy. What's the big ideas? That's the thing that really gets me out of bed in the morning. What are the big ideas? What are the big ideas that we're going to come up with together, and we're going to go and execute? We can't do them all, so then we've got to cook it down. So what's the one that's going to make the impact? How do we do what we just did, but do it much better? Because, wow, that was 50% and we felt the energy. Imagine if we can, like, turn this into something else.
Yeah.
How can we film that again in a different way? Because the way that we filmed it last time was kind of cool, but I kind of feel like if we just moved this there, did this slightly different, do you know, that's the energy that we need, right? So if you can find the right the right space, and my space is sport. But I'm talking about boardrooms and stuff. It's still sport. But you can find the right place, find the right energy, then that's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot for me.
Yes.
And I think that equation, if you like, that formula can work for anyone, really, if you break it down. And I would encourage particularly young people to think about that. When I go into schools, colleges, universities, community centres, you know, the best decisions I've made in my life have been to do things I enjoy.
Yes.
And some parents might struggle with that.
Yeah.
Some parents might struggle with that, but, you know, do you want an unhappy lawyer for a son or daughter?
There's a few of those.
There's a lot.
I've
There's
met a lot of people who've done law who are not doing law.
They're not doing law anymore, or some people who did journalism and they are doing law and they're much happier, right?
That's
so
true.
Again, you've got to find your right spot. But, you know, it's about doing things that you enjoy. Life, if you're lucky, and I think you can create your own luck by choosing to do things that you really enjoy. I remember I always thank my parents for giving me the opportunity to learn musical instruments. Like, it was like something for them that was important. So I was learning musical instruments from like the age of 10 years old. But the people who ended up going on to do music for their careers and stuff were the people that walked into the music centre at like 16, 17.
Oh, wow.
Picked up the drums and
just had it.
They loved it.
Yeah,
so they loved it. That became, and that was their purpose. Their thing was like, I want to make beautiful music.
You didn't love it.
And I didn't love it. I felt I loved it at times, and I enjoyed it, and I'm grateful for it, and it taught me lessons. But as soon as I was like off the leash, right, you don't have to do your music lessons, you don't have to do that.
Gosh.
Right, cool. Well, let me put that on there, and then I'm going to go and do something else.
Yeah.
So, you know, I do encourage young people, like, whatever it is, like, it's not like, say, don't try at school. Try your hardest at school. Squeeze the most from it. But if your thing is graffiti artist, then like when you've got time, spend your time being the best graffiti artist you can be for what you've got at that time. Keep doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
Go and do that.
Yeah, no.
For me, when I was on my journey to becoming a sports journalist, I was in at the BBC, and the job I had to do actually wasn't that fulfilling. It was called broadcast assistant. It was changing tapes. It was doing graphics. So the minute I stopped, very fortunate, Rodney Hines at the Voice newspaper allowed me to go and like do interviews for him. So I'd go and pick a footballer and try and interview them, go and interview them, and then put a piece together. Bang! That was it. That was where I was getting my joy.
Yes.
It wasn't the turn up at the BBC at 5 a.m. or whatever to do the work there.
Yeah.
It was actually the joy was with the Voice newspaper. And then eventually people saw my skills, saw what I brought to the table, and then were like, oh, do you know what? We'll give you a chance on the BBC now to do this because you're staff, so you should be doing this for us, XYZ. But if I didn't do that, I'd have been sat doing the job that I didn't really enjoy that much, just waiting for somebody to see me. And I don't believe life works like that.
And sometimes you're never seen.
No.
And that's the other thing that, you know, could
Never.
then be frustrated. But I completely understand. And yeah, The Voice has been, I wrote an article for that. I did a 3-piece thing about when I did my first book, and I was just in the room. I was with Abdul, actually. We'd gone to, it was a Black History Month. It was Sadiq Khan's event, I believe. And Abdul phoned me up, oh, come along. And I was like, thinking, oh, I could be washing my hair. But nah, he always, you know what? Honestly, anything that Abdul has asked me to go to and I've gone, there's always been such a reward from it, whether it's just even having just a conversation with somebody about something or, you know, but yeah, that's how, so I met, I can't remember her name. My gosh. She's the what was her role? Older lady, Jamaican woman. I can see her and I just can't remember. This is like a long time. My memory's terrible as well. But she was like, oh, we want you to just email me and we want you to do this thing. And, you know, and I remember there was a family dinner that Sunday. Yeah. And I said, no, I'm not going because I was writing this thing. But I was enjoying writing this piece. Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh, I've still got the newspapers. I've read The Voice since I was young. And, you know, to me, those things stand out in your kind of journey. Do you know what I mean? And I'm here doing this, you know, and at the moment, I just say to people, you've got to, I don't know where it's going, but I believe in it. And I believe that there's people that are listening who are getting something really impactful from what we're speaking about. And having different guests helps different people in their journeys because they might resonate with you, or the fact that you're into sport or diversity and inclusion is that something that they're really keen to make impact and change on. So this is the thing, we got to do what we love. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to other people either.
No, and that's fine because everyone's on their own journey, right?
Definitely.
One of the hardest things to do in life, I believe, is to kind of withhold judgment. You know, people are quick to judge.
Oh my
people
gosh.
are quick to try and pour cold water on what other people are doing, have an opinion that actually they don't realise can be detrimental to the journey of that other person. So sometimes it's good to hold your lip and just shut your mouth and let people get on with what they're getting on with, right? Because ultimately what people are doing is what people are doing. And someone somewhere would have been saying, oh, no, people messing around on that social media, why are they so obsessed with this, that and the other? And actually now they're sat on social media accounts that are making hundreds of thousands of pounds through brand associations, etc. And at the time, people would have had no idea what they were up to. I was working, with footballers at the time, and people were offering services. Oh, I can help to develop and grow their brand in this area or that area of social media. I just need the opportunity, and it was like frowned upon by many, many footballers. Now, if you look at footballers and their income, they're getting so much income from that space.
Yep.
So much income from that space. But people were fast to laugh at the person who was offering that service back in the day. And now they can't get near that person offering that service because that person is now being selective with who they're working with because they're choosing people who believe in what they are doing.
Yeah.
And they're in a completely different place. They're investors now. They're investors. They're the people who are sat there going, I might invest in your app or not. And I might invest in that. So, you know, I'm a big believer in kind of holding your judgment, right? We don't always understand what other people are doing.
Definitely.
And we can't. We're not experts in everything.
That's true.
You know, I can't sit on someone's shoulder doing an edit and know exactly what they're up to if I don't understand the technology they're using, the programs, etc., what they're trying to create, etc., etc. So I think, you know, there's a beauty in just letting people get on with it. And actually, what's even more beautiful is going, do you know what? I don't understand it, but go on.
Yeah.
I hope that succeeds.
Yeah.
And I hope we get more of that energy going forward, because I can't help but feel sometimes people are kind of like quite happy to wait and hope it fails. Do you know what I mean? You
No,
kind of get
I think people
get that
secretly
feeling
do.
sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, and I really kind of, I really feel uncomfortable about that because, I love it. I love seeing people succeed.
Yes, that's it. You know what?
It's so
I
good to see people
get a lot of
succeed.
joy from other people's just happiness, success, and that they're doing what they love and what's in there. You know, there's a friend of mine that we used to go to church together, and she started off doing one complete different thing, and now she's like interior design. And if you see this work that she creates, it is absolutely exceptional. And every time she just put out some videos of like the work and projects that she's been doing, and I just, there's like a smile, like a almost like, not a mum because I'm not old enough to be her mum, but there's a sense of pride, and I'm like really happy that she is walking so firmly in her purpose. Like it really means a lot to me. But you've come on a journey, it sounds. How did you know that this is your purpose? How did you find it?
I guess because it's I mean, I guess knowing is difficult because it's how it makes you feel, right?
Yes.
I think that's the only way you can kind of know. People might tell you, but still, people might tell you, wow, what you're doing is amazing, and you might hate it. You might be like, yeah, I'm transforming lives, but boy, this is hard, and but it's how it makes you feel.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm now at a point in my life where I've achieved some good stuff and I feel proud. But it's hard because so many things have gone quite well that there's a lot of it and there's a lot of managing it and stuff. But the thing that kind of keeps me on the journey is how it makes me feel.
Yes.
So when I've just delivered as co-founder of the Football Blacklist national event, and wow, it was hard. You know, it's hard to do. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of accountability. That's what you take on. But it's gone well. And when I saw 700 people together in a room, celebrating, when you see, you know, that you've helped to create an environment in football where black people can be their authentic selves, and not this fit-in nonsense that happens, you know, not just across football but across all industries, for our communities, I believe. I just was like, yeah, okay, so this is hard, but this is worthwhile, and there's more to come. So I think that's when that's when I kind of really feel the purpose kind of like sprinkling a little bit of magic on me, reminding me that, you know, this is the right thing. This is where you're meant to be right now.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is a beautiful feeling. I can think of times where that's happened, and I hope there's more of that, because I think sometimes on the brink of, you know, like how you said you're tired and things, you know, I feel like sometimes it happens just at this point.
Yeah. yeah. No.
Not that you feel like quitting, but there's a point where you just feel like, oh my gosh, this is hard, whatever. And I always seem to find that seems to happen at that point for me.
Yeah, no, I've experienced that as well. And yeah, no, let's see what comes. I don't want to be too presumptuous, but hopefully the positivity continues.
So give us a run through of the steps that you've taken to walk in your purpose.
I mean, I think it's putting yourself out there. That's the first thing. So I talked about having a stroke earlier, like a minor stroke. And I'm not sure if that didn't happen to me, if things would have happened at that point in time in my life, because I felt like, you finish university, felt a little bit lost. Like, kind of, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking anyone to feel sorry for me, but certainly that moment of this could all disappear tomorrow. I need to get on with this. I need to just do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? If I take that step towards it, right, I might get pushed back twice. Okay, fine. But I took a step towards it, then I took another step, then I took 2-3 more steps. Then suddenly I look back and I was like, wow, look how far I've come. So actually it's that first initial, just do it, feel the fear and do it anyway. Do it 100%. And then I think it's about, it can be quite scary, because now people are like, oh, wow, so you've done that. So what else you got? What else you got? But actually that feeling of feeling good about what you've done, and actually giving you the confidence of, well, of course I've done an event for 100 people. 150, I reckon I can do an extra 50. Right, boom, go on to do that. Right, I've done that. Right, 250. Right, 500. Right, and you keep pushing yourself. And it's not just about numbers necessarily in size, but impact. We did an online event and it reached 500,000 people. Wow. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. And I was like, looked around, and there's like 3 or 4 of us had achieved that together. Yeah. And we did an online conference in my living room on my internet in my house during lockdown. And my gosh, again, we reached 250,000 people. The internet could have gone at any moment, but we were bold enough to go, right, let's do it. And a colleague sat on the other side of the room, because we were still doing social distancing at that time.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. But by achieving, it's funny, it awakens something else in you. It gives you more confidence. And I always admire people with lots of confidence. And at the same time go, but why? Why are you so confident? And sometimes there's no real reason I see for them to be that confident. But when I feel confident in myself, and I'm careful with how I wear that, I know it's coming from a place of, well, I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done that. So it's okay. Don't be scared here, Leon. You can push a little bit more. I think you can do a little bit more. Don't do too much. Do a little bit more. Do a little bit more. And I don't know, maybe the next step is do a lot more. But in terms of how I personally have felt comfortable in my own development around my own purpose, and not pushing it so it kind of potentially crumbles and you have to pull the pieces back together again, is by just a little bit more, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. And I think that's the right place for me and my purpose right now, in terms of managing the health of my mental health, making sure that I'm looking after myself on a journey, so I don't push myself to breaking point. Yeah. Because at that point, you're
no good to anyone.
No good to anybody, right? So no, I feel like there's more to come. I feel like I'm purpose driven.
Good.
And that purpose still burns, strongly within me.
That's amazing. I love that. And I love your voice, like your inner coach, I call them. It's like you have your inner critic and your inner coach. So your inner critic is the one that's saying, you can't do that. I try to silence that voice. And then my inner coach, she's called Michelle Obama.
Oh, okay.
So I do this thing with like young people and the clients that I work with, because a lot of what I do is transformation, coaching. I've worked in probation for many, many years. And that voice, that Michelle Obama, is the one that's saying, Jernine, you need to do this, go for it, you know, because the inner critic is like maybe the teacher who didn't think you were going to amount to nothing, or, you know, that friend or an auntie, or, do you know what I mean? That negative voice. Yeah. So I really try and quash it. I don't name it because they're insignificant. The inner coach is my woman. I love Michelle Obama. So I can just hear her just saying, like, come on, you can do this. Go for it. And that's what I heard when you were saying, like, let me do this and that. So I feel really, what's the word? Inspired by how the things that you've done and how you've kind of taken steps to do it. And just that you just sound so, not saying that you're not, all of us are humans and whatever, but sometimes you see somebody and you think, oh, they're like, I don't know, super confident, they've got this under control. But I feel like what I hear from loads of people is that we've all got this little kind of, not doubt, but there's a little inkling of us that it's a little bit scared and a little bit like, oh my gosh, this is huge. And, you know.
And I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy. And I think it's different from a critical voice. It's just a voice of caution.
Yes.
And I don't know, I feel like I'm quite a cautious person in that regard.
But also risky. You're risk adverse as well.
Yeah, no. I'll take risks for sure. I'll take risks for sure. I'll put myself out there and say this should go well, but there's also a chance it might not. But no, I guess calculated risk is probably where I sit. And I think probably most people describe themselves that way. And yeah, it served me well.
Good. I love that. So, final question. What advice would you give someone who is looking for their purpose?
Yeah, if you're looking for your purpose, I would always say, you know, lean in heavily to what you love and your purpose will show up. Because if you love running, if you love singing, if you love mathematics, if you love chemistry, if you love, you know, biology, whatever it might be, if you love being in your community and around your community, you know, really do anchor yourself in that and look around at the things that you would do that will make you happy within that space. And then I think, you know, your purpose will show up. I think that's how it works, I believe. And I think probably when people push against that in terms of, well, I'm happy over there doing singing, but really I should be over here and teaching because, you know, I need to pay the bills, etc., etc. That is a hard situation to be in. But maybe it's the teaching meets the singing and then something happens there, right?
Magic happens.
Magic maybe happens there. Or maybe it's the teaching is just what's the 9 to 5, pays the bills, but actually what you wake up in the morning and think about being happy about is, once I've paid my bills, listen, come 4:30, I'm in this singing thing.
Yes.
And I'm building something here that one day, if I still feel this way about teaching because it's not right for me, I'm jumping straight into the singing because I'm going to build something quietly here that I really enjoy. That's my purpose. That's the thing. Getting more kids singing, getting more people in community singing, you know, whatever it is, I think, you know, really anchor yourself in what you love, because I do believe, and look, the person who's doing the job right now and hate it and they just have to pay the bills, we're saying it's right for you to say that. I'm working 5 jobs and you're talking about going singing. Well, no, I understand that perspective completely. But there's got to be some way out of that. And if it takes a bit longer because of certain circumstances, it's going to take a bit longer. And that's the hand that you've been dealt. But don't give up. Don't give up on it. Because at the point you give up, you know, it's just maintenance of day to day, and it's not really living. And I think if we can get closer to living, and I know that a lot of people talk from a place of privilege when they talk about this. So I'm careful around it, and I'm not, blind to the fact that people don't get the chance to do the singing, the football, the whatever it is. But I do believe we can edge closer to it. We can get closer to it. And then once you're in it and there, then beautiful things can happen. And there is maybe a purpose for you that gives you a really fulfilling, positive life.
Thank you. I love that.
Thank you.
I've benefited from this kind of conversation. It's just like, it's really spoke to me in lots of different ways. But I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. I know we're both on the thing.
No,
we got to go.
good.
But I really appreciate it. And I just wish you all the success. Continue to make changes. Continue to just shine the light in our community. And the thing that I love the most about what you said about the recent event with the Football Blacklist was that you created a space for Black footballers to be their authentic self. That, I don't know, there's something that just lit up inside of me because I'm really, really passionate about being our authentic selves. And there's a lot of spaces where we can't be. So the fact that you're able to create a space where they can, I just really admire that. So just want to keep encouraging you to keep doing it.
No, thank you. We will. As a team of people, as a community, we'll keep doing this more and more and more because, it's what it should be. It's where we want to be. It's how it should be, and we can do it collectively.
Definitely.
We can do it.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us again, and I will see you next month with a brand new guest. God bless.